Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Soul Land 2 Peerless Tang Men based on novel. So let's start. After a short while, Elder Xian brought Hui Yuhao to the Sea God's Pavilion. Although Elder Xian had already succeeded the role of Hallmaster of the Sea God's Pavilion, he didn't move into Elder Mu's former room, choosing to remain in his own. There were two people in his room at the moment, Fan Yu and Hikaitu. Hikaitu was in far better shape now, and his muscles were like a replica of Qian Duoduo's. His tan skin gave a healthy glow, and while he still looked as goofy as ever, his disposition was much more mature than a year prior, developing a pensive look. Much like Hui Yuhao, he had also put in a lot of hard work over the last year. He had also slowly found his path, the path that would end up giving him the title of the Origin of Destruction. Elder Xian placed Hui Yuhao on his bed, giving him some medicine to calm his mind. Fan Yu asked respectfully, "Elder Xian, how's Yuhao?" Elder Xian replied, "He's too tensed up. Elder Mu's death was a huge blow to him. However, I believe that he can overcome this. The last 3 months he's been numbing himself with cultivation. We'll let him rest. You should prepare to leave in 3 days. Xiaozhe will personally escort you to Heavenly Do Empire's Maple Leaf City to make the exchange with the students of the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy. Fan Yu, we leave this great responsibility to you." Fan Yu asked, "Elder Xian, are we really not going to increase Yuhao's soul rings?" Elder Xian laughed and said, "Let him keep a low profile, we're in no hurry to make him a soul ancestor right now. Let them underestimate him so he can learn stuff easier. The important thing for our students is to see more, learn more, say less and do less. Remember that. Whether or not we can get our hands on their core knowledge is on all of you." Fan Yu nodded and replied, "I understand. If we meet with a suitable soul beast for him in the next 3 years, I will consider letting him at a soul ring. Otherwise, we'll try to keep it on the down low to keep the Sun Moon Academy in the dark." Elder Xian said, "The illustrious Virtue Hall is just like us. To obtain our core knowledge they've opened their illustrious Virtue Hall to us, and we the inner courtyard to them. While they may not try to limit you in what you can learn, they could attempt to impart advanced knowledge beyond your comprehension. Even if you don't fully understand what they give you, be sure to fully record it for later. They'll be wary of you, ensuring Kaitu and Yuhao's protection is your highest priority." "Yes." Elder Xian looked at Hui Yuhao, who was lying on the bed, and said, "Elder Mu's death has changed the mind of the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy. We'll exchange our students at Maple Leaf City, and they will return in 3 months, just before the next Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Soul Dueling Tournament. The venue for which will also be held in Maple Leaf City this time. The Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy is being very sincere since they are anxious to break through in the Soul Masters area. Likewise, we're very anxious to have a Class 10 Soul Engineer. Both academies will send out 10 students. From the Sun Moon side both Xiao Hongchen and Meng Hongchen will be coming, and then on our side, Elder Mu agreed to send Yuhao as one of the 10. For the other 8 students, besides Yuhao and Kaitu, we must pick them with care. Kaitu, you must try to shine in the illustrious Virtue Hall and be the center of their attention. Do you understand what I mean?" Hikaitu nodded without any hesitation. "Elder Xian, I understand. The other 8 students are there to protect me and Hui Yuhao, while I'm there as a second layer of protection for Yuhao. If he wants to keep a low profile, then I must keep a high one." Elder Xian nodded satisfactorily and said, "Okay. Go and prepare first. I will return a sane Hui Yuhao to you in 3 days, yes." Fan Yu answered, but he was still a little worried as he looked at Hui Yuhao. Could he recover in 3 days? He was more than aware of just how hard Hui Yuhao had been working the past 3 months. He was internally broken. Elder Mu's death had just been a great blow to him. Fan Yu left with Hikaitu, leaving Elder Xian with Hui Yuhao in the room. Elder Xian sat on a chair beside him and looked at Hui Yuhao quietly. He revealed a slight smile on his face. "Silly kid, even I can't deal with your stubbornness. It seems like I have to let you know beforehand." 3 days passed in a flash. Wang Dong was a little lonely as he sat in his room. Even though he hadn't become an official inner courtyard disciple, he'd been cultivating on Sea God's Island the entire time. His guiding teacher had changed from Elder Mu to Elder Xian, and he now learned alongside Xiao Xiao. Elder Xian had told him that he could take the inner courtyard test when the next academic year started, then enter the inner courtyard. The same was true for Xiao Xiao. After all, they were both soul ancestors already. If they weren't able to pass the inner courtyard test even after being guided by Elder Mu and Elder Xian, they would most certainly be wasting the two elders' efforts. Was Yu Hao leaving? Wang Dong felt a tinge of bitterness in his heart. He was the one most affected by Hui Yu Hao's transformation during the past 3 months. Hui Yu Hao had sealed himself up almost completely. Besides the time they spent cultivating together, Wang Dong hadn't seen Hui Yu Hao at all. As the days passed, he'd clearly felt Hui Yu Hao's mental state tensing up. If not for the fact that Hui Yu Hao's spiritual power was so great, he would have broken down already. He truly was too tensed up. Wang Dong tried to speak to him, but Hui Yu Hao wouldn't listen. When he spoke too much, Hui Yu Hao would start to tear up and mumble the word teacher. Wang Dong had to admit that Hui Yu Hao's abilities had improved by leaps and bounds in these past 3 months of tireless cultivation. He'd managed to increase his soul power to rank 40, but his cultivation had been stuck at a bottleneck. He needed to obtain his 4th soul ring to proceed any further. But this hadn't affected his cultivation. Wang Dong was certain that Hui Yu Hao's abilities had superseded his own completely. Even though this had been the case in the past, he'd been an assault-type soul master then, and Hui Yu Hao more of a control-type soul master. However, Hui Yu Hao was now very dominant in assault techniques. Wang Dong didn't even think that he'd have a shot at defeating Hui Yu Hao if they were to fight now. Of course, this was based on the condition that Hui Yu Hao could use soul tools. In the past year, Wang Dong's abilities had also improved greatly. I heard that he's leaving tomorrow. Elder Xian has already taken him away for 3 days. Can he really recover? It'll be almost 3 years until we see him again if he leaves. When his thoughts reached this point, Wang Dong couldn't help but purse his lips, his pinkish blue eyes revealing a trace of reluctance. Wang Dong walked towards the door and asked, "Who is it?" "It's me." A familiar voice sounded. Wang Dong stopped when he heard this voice. Immediately afterwards, he burst towards the door and opened it. Hui Yu Hao was standing outside the door. His eyes looked clear, and the sense of loss and sorrow had completely disappeared from his eyes. Precisely because they were so familiar with each other, Wang Dong was able to sense the changes in his body. He was stunned and asked, "Did you come back from the dead?" Hui Yu Hao chortled and said, "I guess so." Wang Dong blinked. "How did you do it?" Hui Yu Hao answered naturally, "Of course it was because Elder Xian who helped me. I've already thought it through. A dead person can't be revived. If I continued like I was, I'd collapse before I could fulfill Teacher's hopes. Teacher wouldn't be able to rest in peace if that happens." Wang Dong opened his eyes wide. "Wow, how did you manage to figure it out? I wasn't able to elicit any reaction from you even though I tried persuading you for 3 months. He became more frustrated the more he spoke. He couldn't help but grab Hui Yu Hao's collar and pull him into his room before shutting the door forcefully. Hui Yu Hao laughed bitterly and said, "Be gentler, I'm about to leave." "Why are you not leaving me a good last impression of you?" Wang Dong's body jerked when he heard the word leave. Indeed. Hui Yu Hao was leaving the next day. He had to leave, especially since his mind had completely recovered. "Are you here to say goodbye?" Wang Dong's voice trembled slightly. Hui Yu Hao nodded his head gently and held onto Wang Dong's shoulders while pushing him further into the room. "I'm leaving tomorrow. This trip to the Sun Moon Imperial Engineering Academy is of the utmost importance. I'll be leaving on an important mission for 2.5 years, and won't be back during this period of time." Wang Dong, feeling a little impulsive, said, "I'll find Elder Xian and ask him to let me tag along again. We have 4 martial soul fusion skills. You'll be completely safe with me around." Hui Yu Hao held Wang Dong back and shook his head. "It's useless, Elder Xian won't change his mind. Besides, you don't even like soul tools. Going there would only affect your future cultivation. 2.5 years will pass in the blink of an eye. Furthermore, even though we're quite outstanding among others of our same age, we're nothing outside the academy. While the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy is packed with soul engineers, they shouldn't have a lack of title d'honneur. Don't tell me we're better than all of them. You'll only delay your own cultivation if you go there. Staying here is the best choice. Besides, you can monitor Xiao Hongchen and Meng Hongchen if you remain in the academy. In 3 years' time, they'll be our strongest opponents in the tournament. Luck won't always be on our side. They already had 5 soul rings in the previous tournament. If we face them again, they'll give us even more problems. Wang Dong clenched his fists, but 2.5 years. Ahoy Yu Hao smiled and continued to hold onto his shoulder. Wang Dong, you've become more and more feminine over this past year. You can't bear to see me go, Scram, you're the one who's turned feminine. Wang Dong pushed his hand away and snorted. I was just thinking that you'll lag behind me after your 2.5 years in the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy. Your speed of cultivation is already extremely slow. Without me around, you'll become even slower. Hui Yuhao replied, all right, stop acting. Just say it if you can't bear for me to leave. Stop finding excuses. I'm reluctant to leave you too. Although the Soul Tool departments in a Courtyard Disciples couldn't compare to the Martial Soul departments in a Courtyard Disciples, they were still outstanding, having been nurtured by the Soul Tool department. Furthermore, the students from Shrek Academy's Soul Tool department were originally from the Martial Soul department. Their ability to get into Shrek Academy already proved that they weren't ordinary. The Soul Tool department in a Courtyard Disciples that were chosen this time were at least Soul Kings, and were at least Class 5 Soul Engineers. They would be pretty outstanding even in the Sun Moon Empire. Of course, Class 5 Soul Engineers from Shrek Academy couldn't compare to Class 5 Soul Engineers from the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy. Hui Yuhao and Hikaitu flew at the back of the group. There was a Class 6 Soul Engineer badge on Hikaitu's chest. Soul Engineer badges differed according to class. They all adopted the shape of a star anise, but the badges were blue for Class 1 to Class 3 Soul Engineers, which were differentiated using diamond-carved stars. The badges were purple for Class 4 to Class 6 Soul Engineers, black for Class 7 and 8 Soul Engineers, and red for Class 9 Soul Engineers. As there had never been a Class 10 Soul Engineer before, a Class 10 Soul Engineer badge didn't exist. Hui Yuhao's badge was blue, and had 3 diamond-carved stars on it. Hikaitu's badge was purple, and had 6 diamond-carved stars on it. This represented a huge gap between them. Only Hikaitu was aware that Hui Yuhao wasn't inferior to him, apart from creating stationary soul tools. It was just that Hui Yuhao's soul power was lacking. In addition, Hikaitu even carried a few soul tools created by Hui Yuhao. Hikaitu had managed to reach rank 50 just a month ago. He had obtained his 5th soul ring and become a soul king. As such, his Class 6 Soul Engineer title wasn't just for show. It was also fitting for Hui Yuhao to wear a Class 3 Soul Engineer badge, since he had 3 soul rings. After all, a Soul Engineer's soul power rank and Soul Engineer class had a direct connection, even though it was possible to perform beyond one's class. Shrek Academy was situated at the southeast region of the Heavenly Soul Empire, while Maple Leaf City was at the southwest region of the Heavenly Soul Empire. The Sun Moon Empire could be reached by moving west to the border of the Western Territories. The flying distance was about twice the distance between Shrek City and Star Luo City. The students had to rest every 2 hours due to their limited soul power. Yang Xiaoxia didn't carry the rest like Elder Xian had. They only arrived at their destination late in the afternoon. Maple Leaf City was on the western side of the Star Luo Empire, near to its very active border with the Sun Moon Empire. Maple Leaf City handled a lot of the military logistics of the Heavenly Soul Empire. At the same time, it was an important trading and commercial city at the border. Even though it wasn't as prosperous as Shrek City, it wasn't inferior in terms of size. After entering the city, Yang Xiaoxia brought the students to find a hotel to stay in. He instructed them to rest well. Brother Shen. Hui Yuhao and Hikaitu said respectfully. Yi Xiaosheng nodded his head in satisfaction and said, a snake cannot crawl without its head. We're all from Shrek, and this is a valuable opportunity. We have an important mission to carry out, too. If there's anything either of you need, you can come and find me. Hikaitu smiled and replied, thanks, Brother Shen. You can also instruct us if there's anything that you want us to do. Yi Xiaosheng was originally worried that Hikaitu would snatch away his leadership role. He was much more relieved after this brief conversation. But he wouldn't make it difficult for Hikaitu either. After all, Hikaitu was a Class 6 Soul Engineer too, and was also Fan Yu's inheriting disciple. He was fine as long as Hikaitu didn't affect his leadership role. I don't think I'm in a position to instruct the both of you. Brother He, you don't have to stand on ceremony. The two of you should also rest after this long journey. After he finished speaking, Yi Xiaosheng waved goodbye before leaving. Hikaitu and Hui Yuhao stared at each other for a moment before smiling. After that, they returned to their rooms. Shrek Academy students quickly finished packing on the second morning, and followed Yang Xiaoxia and Fan Yu to Maple Leaf City's central plaza. Hui Yuhao immediately recognized both Meng Hongchen and Xiao Hongchen, who were familiar foes. They were both 17 years old now, and didn't look much different from adults. They were standing at the forefront of the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy's group. What stunned Hui Yuhao was that Jing Hongchen had come personally. The teacher that was leading them was Teacher Ma, the same teacher he'd seen during the tournament. Teacher Ma was also Ma Rulong's biological grandfather, and the chief of the illustrious Virtue Hall. The Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy was determined this time. Not only did the Hongchen siblings come, but Hui Yuhao also spotted 3 of the preparatory team members from the tournament. Jing Hongchen appeared quite relieved. Both parties met at Maple Leaf City Central Plaza. The Hongchen siblings quickly located Hui Yuhao, who stood at the back of the group. When Xiao Hongchen saw Hui Yuhao's Class 3 badge on his chest, he instinctively pursed his lips and shot Hui Yuhao a provocative look. The Hongchen siblings were still very indignant about having lost to Hui Yuhao and Wang Dong in the most critical battle during the tournament. They believed that it wasn't because of cultivation, but rather because their understanding of Hui Yuhao and Wang Dong was insufficient. In addition, Xiao Hongchen had been gravely injured back then. Xiao Hongchen didn't regard Hui Yuhao as being on the same level as him, even though he had lost the tournament. His targets were Soul Emperors like Ma Xiaodao and Dai Yuehang. Jing Hongchen said to Yang Xiaoxia, "Greetings, Dean Yuan. I didn't expect that you'd be here personally today. It seems like your academy is treating this exchange quite seriously." What kind of person was Yang Xiaoxia? He was as calculating as Jing Hongchen. He wore a smile and replied, "Hallmaster Hongchen, aren't you personally here too? Apologies for not hosting you well when you came to Shrek Academy as a guest the other time." Yang Xiaoxia disliked Jing Hongchen. Although he didn't have proof, it was likely that Jing Hongchen was behind Ma Xiaotao's disappearance from Shrek. Jing Hongchen's facial muscles cramped a little. His experience at the Sea God's Pavilion was too memorable. A Class 9 Soul Tool. He had lost such a Soul Tool to Shrek Academy. Even the automatic Class 9 Soul Tools he'd brought had been confiscated by Shrek Academy. He'd suffered great losses. Yang Xiaoxia was obviously adding salt to his wounds. "I heard that Elder Mu has passed on. My condolences. It's a pity that it was our last time meeting then. He was the strongest and most deserving of respect among all the titled Doluor that I've ever seen." Yang Xiaoxia received those words coldly. Elder Mu's death had been a huge blow to him. He replied, "Hallmaster Hongchen, let's cut the unimportant words. Since we already agreed to this earlier, let's exchange our students now. I'm representing Shrek Academy's Martial Soul Department in welcoming your students for this exchange." The students from both academies switched positions under the guidance of the teachers. When Xiao Hongchen and Hui Yuhao brushed past each other, Hui Yuhao clearly heard Xiao Hongchen say, "In the next tournament, I'll personally be the one to crush your balls." Hui Yuhao smirked. "I'm so scared." They exchanged heated gazes, neither backing down from the challenge. However, unlike Xiao Hongchen, Meng Hongchen was in a good mood, which was quite a surprise to Hui Yuhao. She even had a smile on her face, and only nodded her head slightly when she saw him. Hua Yuhao didn't feel any contempt in her gaze, which left him a bit perplexed. In fact, even Xiao Hongchen didn't know what his sister was currently thinking. Meng Hongchen smiled and her face even turned a little red. She looked into the distance and thought to herself, he isn't a part of this exchange. Does that mean that he's in Shrek Academy? I wonder what he looks like now. I bet he's even more handsome. I'm going to see him soon. His pinkish blue eyes are really beautiful. Apart from Yang Xiaoxia and Jing Hongchen, everyone from both academies had switched positions. Yang Xiaoxia smiled gently and said, Hallmaster Hongchen, I shall bid you farewell for now. Jing Hongchen said, Dean Yang, take care. Their gazes met again, then Yang Xiaoxia flew up into the air. He didn't even need to use a flying-type soul tool. Rather, Tan invisible staircase seemed to be present in the sky and lead all the way up. Under Teacher Ma's guidance, everyone from the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy took out their flying-type soul tools and started to activate them. However, they were shocked when they saw Yang Xiaoxia glide into the air. Was this the power of a transcendent Delor? Jing Hongchen didn't rush to leave. He watched as Yang Xiaoxia left with the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy's students, somewhat pensive. He could also fly on his own, since he was also a titled Delor. However, he couldn't do what Yang Xiaoxia was doing. After all, Yang Xiaoxia hadn't even used any soul power. Even though Elder Mu had passed on, Shrek Academy was still a powerhouse. Jing Hongchen grinned and then turned around. He looked at Fan Yu and the Shrek Academy students before saying, Guys, let's go. I'm the Hallmaster of the illustrious Virtue Hall, Jing Hongchen. On behalf of the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy, I welcome you all. Jing Hongchen also leapt up into the air once he'd finished speaking. Two thin streaks of golden light slowly rose behind his body. Hua Yuhao observed the flying-type soul tool that he used carefully. It seemed like a pair of wings that was both very thin and very soft. The wings didn't appear to be made of metal at all. Even though the golden lights on the wings surged, no soul power could be felt from it. Jing Hongchen flapped his wings lightly and rose into the sky with ease. Soul tools were usually made from metal, but what kind of metal could be described as soft? At most, metals were generally considered malleable, yet Jing Hongchen's flying-type soul tool actually gave off a feeling of softness. Fan Yu was a Class 8 soul engineer himself, but his shock was even greater than Hua Yuhao's. He muttered to himself as he flew into the air, the illustrious Virtue Hall's research into soul tool bionics has reached such a level? Shrek Academy's soul tool department had developed rapidly over the past 2 years. However, Fan Yu could clearly sense the difference in quality between the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy and Shrek Academy. As far as soul tools go, the gap was exceedingly large. Hua Yuhao couldn't help but ask, Teacher, what do you mean by soul tool bionics? Fan Yu said, it refers to imitating the form of a living being with a soul tool. The soul tool will then adopt some of the common characteristics found in the being it's imitating. Jing Hongchen's voice could be heard as soon as Fan Yu finished speaking, Little fellows, we need to be quicker. Else we won't reach our destination before dark. Jing Hongchen laughed and said, that might be possible many years from now, but I doubt I'll live to see it. Fan Yu didn't know how much he was leaving out, but he was certain that the gap in technology between their academies was smaller than the gap in training their soul masters had. Elder Mu's decision to develop soul tools before he passed on was undoubtedly the correct decision, and the opportunity to pursue that goal was right in front of them. Episode 52 Part 1 end here.